Tie a Yellow Ribbon Round the LA Oak Tree is a song by Dawn featuring Tony Orlando. It was written by Irwin Levine and L. Russell Brown and produced by Hank Medress and Dave Appell, with Motown Stax backing vocalist Telma Hopkins, Joyce Vincent Wilson and her sister Pamela Vincent on backing vocals. It was a worldwide hit for the group in 1973. It reached number 1 on both the US and UK charts for 4 weeks in April 1973, number 1 on the Australian charts for 7 weeks from May to July 1973 and number 1 on the New Zealand charts for 10 weeks from June to August 1973. It was the top-selling single in 1973 in both the US and UK. In 2008, Billboard ranked the song as the 37th biggest song of all time in its issue celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Hot 100. Synopsis: the song is told from the point of view of someone who has done his time, but is uncertain if he will be welcomed home. He writes to his love, asking her to tie a yellow ribbon around the old oak tree in front of the house if she wants him to return to her life. If he does not see such a ribbon, he will remain on the bus and understand her reasons. He asks the bus driver to check, fearful of not seeing anything. To his amazement, the entire bus cheers the response there are 100 yellow ribbons around the tree, a sign he is very much welcome. Origins of the song: the story of a convict who had told his love to tie a ribbon book to a tree outside of town is an American folk tale, dating to before 1959. The origin of the idea of a yellow ribbon as remembrance may have been the 19th century practice that some women allegedly had of wearing a yellow ribbon in their hair to signify their devotion to a husband or sweetheart serving in the U.S. cavalry. The song "Round Her Neck She Wears a Yellow Ribbon," which later inspired the John Wayne movie She Wore a Yellow Ribbon, is a reference to this. The symbol of a yellow ribbon became widely known in civilian life in the 1970s as a reminder that an absent loved one either in the military or in jail, would be welcomed home on their return. In October 1971, newspaper columnist Pete Hamill wrote a piece for the New York Post called Going Home. In it, he told a variant of the story, in which college students on a bus trip to the beaches of Fort Lauderdale make friends with an ex-convict who is watching for a yellow handkerchief on a roadside oak in Brunswick, Georgia. Hamill claimed to have heard this story in oral tradition. In June 1972, 9 months later, Reader's Digest reprinted Going Home. Also in June 1972, ABC TV aired a dramatized version of it in which James Earl Jones played the role of the returning ex-con. According to L. Russell Brown, he read Hamill's story in the Reader's Digest, and suggested to his songwriting partner Irwin Levine that they write a song based on it. Levine and Brown then registered for copyright the song, which they called "Tie a Yellow Ribbon Round the LA Oak Tree." At the time, the writers said they heard the story while serving in the military. Pete Hamill was not convinced and filed suit for infringement. Hamill dropped his suit after folklorists working for Levine and Brown turned up archival versions of the story that had been collected before Going Home had been written. Levine and Brown first offered the song to Ringo Starr, but Al Steckler of ABKCO told them that they should be ashamed of the song and described it as ridiculous. Chart and sales performance: in April 1973, the recording by Tony Orlando and Dawn reached number 1 in the Billboard Hot 100 in the U.S., and stayed at number 1 for 4 weeks. Tie a Yellow Ribbon sold 3 million records in the U.S. in 3 weeks. It also reached number 1 on the Adult Contemporary chart, and BMI calculated that radio stations had played it 3 million times from 17 continuous years of airplay. Billboard ranked it as the number 1 song for 1973. It also reached number 1 in the UK and Australia, and has sold 1 million copies in the UK. Cover versions: the song enjoyed duplicate success on country radio, as a cover version by Johnny Carver. Carver's rendition, simply titled Yellow Ribbon, was a top 10 hit on the Billboard Hot Country Singles chart in June 1973. Carver's version also reached number 1 on the RPM Country Tracks chart in Canada. Musically similar, the only difference in the song is the substitution of the minor expletive "down with Don." Also in 1973, Jim Nabors covered the song on his album The 12th of Never. Also in 1973, Italian singer Domenico Modugno had a minor hit in Italy with a cover in his language, Appendi un nastro gilo. The lyrics are a very faithful translation of the original, down to the same amount of years in prison, only difference is that instead of watching the tree from a bus, the Italian singer watches it from a tram. In Chile, England music Roberto Ingles he achieved great success with his version, which was #1 on the national radio for the September 11, 1973. Later in 1973, Connie Francis had a minor hit in Australia with an answer song. The Answer Her version remained in the top 40 for 3 weeks, peaking at number 31, and K-Star did a version of this song on the country pop charts in 1974 hitting number 12. Around 1974 the song was also covered by Hong Kong singing artist Agnes Chan. The song was also covered by Bobby Goldsboro on a multi-artist compilation album entitled Storytellers released in 1976. In 1977, the song was sung by Andy Kaufman playing his character Tony Clifton on HBO. The song had renewed popularity in 1981, in the wake of the Iranian hostage crisis. The song was performed by David Alan Grier over the closing credits of Amazon Women on the Moon. In 1999's Club 7 performed the song for their hit TV series Miami 7. It was featured in the second episode. The song was also covered by Cheyenne during their first Japan Arena Tour Cheyenne World 2012 starting with Cheyenne Fukuoka Arena Tour on April 25, 2012 and ending with Cheyenne Hiroshima Arena Tour on July 1, 2012. They also performed the same song throughout their second Asia Tour Cheyenne World 2 in various countries such as South Korea, Taiwan, China and Singapore. The song was covered by Eric D. Johnson and appears on the soundtrack for the 2011 film Our Idiot Brother starring Paul Rudd. The song is used over the opening credits as Rudd is released from prison after serving time for selling marijuana to a uniformed police officer. In 2014, a cover version was sung by Cuban stars Silvio Rodriguez, Amari Pa copyright Res, Los Cinco, Key Corona, Luna Manzanares, Gretel Barrero and the famous classical pianist Frank Fernandez. This version, sung in English, was a protest asking Barack Obama to free 3 Cuban activists kept in a Miami prison. The following list is a minute portion of the thousands of artists who have recorded this song: Frank Sinatra, Bing Crosby, Dean Martin, Mantovani, Tony Orlando and Dawn, Dolly Parton, Johnny Ray, Perry Como, Jim Nabors, Ray Conniff, Ferranti and Tacha, Connie Francis, Johnny Carver, Ray Anthony, Al Hirt, Domenico Modugno, Roger Williams, Henry Mancini, James Last, Shinye. Association with the People Power Revolution. In the Philippines, the song was best known for its use in the return of exiled politician Benigno Aquino, Jr. to the country in 1983, during which Aquino supporters tied yellow ribbons on trees in anticipation of his arrival. However, Aquino was assassinated upon arrival, sparking the rise of People Power 3 years later that led to the demise of Ferdinand Marcos' presidency and subsequent inauguration of Aquino's widow Corazon Aquino as president. Yellow was also the campaign symbol of Aquino's son who eventually became President Benigno Aquino III in 2010. Association with the 2014 Hong Kong protests. During the 2014 Hong Kong protests the song was routinely performed by pro-democracy protesters and sympathetic street musicians as a reference to the yellow ribbons that had become a popular symbol of the movement on site and on social media. Journalists covering the event described use of the tune as a protest song. See also, List of #1 singles of 1973, List of Hot 100 #1 singles of 1973, List of #1 adult contemporary singles of 1973, List of #1 singles from the 1970s. References